So, what's going on? Pull up my shorts.
We're live in 5,
Are we?
4, 3, 2. Here's Victor and Shana!
Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny White.
Hi.
Is that the camera right there? Hi, folks, internet people. My name is Shana Nys Dambrot. You may remember me from a bunch of Creative Current artist interviews that we did here at the Downtown Artist Space. But today, we are bringing you a very special edition of a League of Nations sort of co-production with all of these platforms. And I'm here interviewing the designer Victor Wilde of the Bohemian Society, whose recent project, Lego Your Logo, has just launched as both an online interview documentary series and a ready-to-wear line. And they're interrelated in some very surprising ways. So we're going to be talking to him about that and what that's been like. Part of the excitement will be the links at the bottom of the description of this, which take you to some of those videos. You'll enjoy those, but I would say maybe don't do that at work. So, hey, Victor.
Hello,
Happy
everybody.
420.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. Congratulations on Lego Your Logo.
Thank you.
I would actually like to have you be the one to explain it to everyone, because there are all these different moving parts. There's a naked interview series where you talk about fashion and style with a bunch of different people. There's actually a line of clothing with a very specific design element. So maybe just sort of start at the beginning. Why, as a designer, you hate clothes so much.
Well,
and what you're doing about it now, and what people can expect.
as a designer, I guess I am sort of a nudist. I guess I don't even really consider myself to be a designer per se, because there are so many moving parts. But the end goal, really, of doing this really is to start like a Bohemian Society online network. So that it kind of comes from that idea, the idea to have a naked talk show, because I like that idea, and putting that together with something that actually gets people talking and turns out to be something positive, and that's something that I wanted to do, because after designing for 10 years, I was asking these questions to myself, like what do I think about fashion, like, because it's not all fun and games, you know.
It kind of mostly is, though.
Well, I mean, this is.
This is.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. And actually, this is both a really amazing story and a strangely sort of salient topic when it comes to what this Lego Your Logo thing has become. I mean, so basically, really quickly, I've known you for a long time, and you've been making noise for a long time about how you wanted to do a talk show. You've always wanted to kind of have an interview show. You know, Bohemian Society is about this collection of eccentric, amazing people, and and we bounced a bunch of ideas around. Should we put a camera in your loft? And so everyone that comes through spends 5 minutes answering questions about fashion, you know, sort of like a factory style, but a little confessional kind of thing. Should we do that? Well, yeah, but that's not really practical, because you can't just sort of like always be stopping, you know, what you're doing to do that. And then it's like, okay, well, let's, you know, plan it as a kind of series of a show. And it's like, well, and you just kept saying, okay, but everybody has to be naked. And I kept saying, no, bad idea, you know, and of course you won that argument. But what I find really interesting about the project, and what I guess my first real question would be for you, is you had this idea to do a naked interview show. You yourself are also naked in it, partly because you thought it would be fun. But then the project, when it's happened, actually got very serious and very real. Like, there are some very personal, very profound political, you know, social moments in the interviews that you ended up doing. So maybe just take a minute and talk, you know, kind of seriously about, you know, who some of the people are and what some of the surprises and favorite moments for you in the talk show part, as it actually ended up being for you.
Well, it's when I put it out there, I just
Meaning the idea.
putting the idea out there to just to all of my friends to see what they would think about it first, and then I was fortunate enough to work with people that not only got it, but were part of the vision and helped it happen. And it started out as like, yeah, okay, a naked talk show. That's kind of funny.
Sure. Great
Right.
for internet clickbait, no problem.
Right.
But actually,
But it became this thing, and this whole discussion started happening, and it wasn't about like, oh, woe is me, but it was really about people bearing, like, I wanted to wipe the slate clean as far as like what I was doing as an artist personally.
right.
But to get to talk with others, then the reason why I was insisting on the nudity is that you're a newborn baby. It was like a new you're naked. That's
Right.
it. That's all you have. And,
Right.
And that really it did prove it worked. That's what people there were people that were naked, and they were just inspiring and courageous and fearless, just being themselves and very comfortable being who they are in their own skin.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very inspiring to me, and we inspired each other, and there were long talks before and after about
And
what it
enduring
is.
friendships, people you met in the project who are your friends for life now. And yeah, there's some really moving moments and some very funny ones as well. I did notice what you said just there about people being comfortable in their own skin. I think is a really nice kind of takeaway from that, because aside from the sort of unexpected thing of a fashion designer, with no one wearing clothes, right? But I know that for you and for the people who did the project, it ended up being more about sort of their fashion and style as an expression of personal identity, right? And so that kind of is then where the ready-to-wear line, the sort of hook of that came in,
Right.
where instead of making sort of couture, one of a kind, artisanal pieces, you're doing ready-wear line, different sizes. That's what it
Right.
means, right? But the relationship with how you express the logo skin idea is pretty unique. So maybe talk about what that is and how that happened.
Well, that aspect of it, we knew. I was talking with Tracy. We wanted to decide to do like a ready-to-wear line, and me, I just can't make a shirt. It's like it has to be. Because it have to be entertaining for me, and it's a learning process for me, and it's taught that I have to learn something from it too. For me, that's mainly it, and that's where everything sort of came together with the Naked Talk Show, and to get the ready-to-wear line, and okay, well, let's do like a polo shirt, but instead of having the logo, there's a hole
Right.
where
Where the logo used to
where
be.
the logo used to be, and your skin is your logo, comfortable
Right.
in your own skin,
Right.
ready to wear.
No, it was a funny moment too, because again, it was one of these things where, so you're cutting the logo out where the little Izod guy or the little polo guy, so it's like no-lo, no-zod, whatever, right? But it doesn't make it unrecognizable. It's not like without the alligator, you don't know that's an Izod, right? So it's sort of still iconic, but yet, so it's sort of like, it's still the shirt it was, but it's in no way the shirt it was and the value, but now it's been augmented, and then where the corporate thing used to be is just your skin, right? So you are your own logo, but it's it's very simple, but very sort of funny, and I think people get it right away, and so I guess my question would be, which do you think, so people are understanding what you're trying to do with the clothing line that goes with it. But as far as the video series, so a version of the series that Johnny White and you and Tyson and everyone has produced is out there in the internet, and it was at the launch party. So people have seen it. The people that were the interview subjects have seen it. Maybe talk a little bit about what the response has been from sort of like the public and the people involved, like, overwhelmingly positive, I'm assuming, but I don't really know. Like, what kind of reaction have you gotten?
Well, since the launch, it's just really started. I feel like this hasn't really even begun. Like, we're just starting with the whole project, and it's everybody involved in the project it's been great. We had a great launch and a great opening. Our presence online, I would love for more people to see it than they have so far, and that's part of what this is getting to the beginning of this internet network. And I've been documenting my own life since I was about 12 years old. So this is just something that I've been doing since I was a kid.
Well, that's interesting, and to to sort of get to that a little bit, because you had mentioned in the beginning that part of the inspiration for all of this was wanting to really embrace what sort of YouTube and the internet technology. And you and I have talked many times. We're both New Yorkers. MNN, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, Robin Bird for Men.
Right.
That's worth Googling when we're done. If you don't know about Robin Bird for Men, it's Bird with a Y. Just
Absolutely.
just do that. But anyway, we both grew up with this world where basically public access television in Manhattan was amazing and eclectic and strange and surreal.
Inspiring.
So inspiring. And sort of like a proto YouTube in a way.
Right.
And you had a show then for a while. And so maybe talk a little bit about that and just, leaving aside for a minute the whole sort of naked thing, which is, amazing and definitely what'll get people to watch and get you in trouble. But just as it sort of fits into your, art career, why the documentation, why the video, what that's about for you as an artist?
It's my parents got a video camera. My grandparents gave every child in the family like choice of some cash or a video camera, and I was very excited. I was like, you have to take the video camera, and I just picked it up and started filming everything. It's just maybe I'm just a narcissist. I don't know, a little bit.
Narcissist, voyeur continuum, I would say.
Yeah, but I still have all the tapes. I just never really let it down. I actually wound up going to film school, but the fashion melds into film, and like I always joke and say I got best dressed in junior high and high school, and for a few years there, in New York City, I was a street performer wearing a costume every day.
Right.
And I had a video, I got a nice video camera again, and we did this U.S. tour, and it's just something that I've always done.
Right.
So it's like part of my existence, I guess. And it's like an ex-girlfriend of mine said, if you don't document it, it never happened.
Right. I mean, and that's a super good point and very prescient considering all this had been going on long before the sort of world we live in, now.
Right.
So I guess my question is, so this is part of like a larger plan to also build the BohemianSociety.com website into more than just an online store.
Yes.
You're doing original content, you're doing blogging, you're doing shoots in, sort of impromptu, mini lookbook stuff in between.
Right.
You're doing a live body printing show with me at Artopia on the 30th. You were the hit in 10 days, so we should probably talk about that later. But, last year everybody loved that, and that was sort of part of it, the body printing with the, with professional adult film actress, people who were amazing at it, because the self-consciousness wasn't there. So, I mean, it all does kind of feed together. It's not just like a crazy idea to get clicks. It's like there's a conceptual web that binds it all together. But so these films are available. I guess I have two questions. Are you going to do more of these interviews? And what other kinds of shows or programs or content like that can people expect to see if they follow your website and your channels and things like that?
I think I definitely want to do more and explore more of what we did. I think it's something that's interesting and relevant, and people can learn from and learn themselves from, and I can learn from more, and that's really what I set out to do with this. And more shows. I know one I want to do is tiny action figures of me and all my friends. I think maybe we solve fashion emergencies.
Well, I've seen you solve your share of fashion emergencies, so I could see that.
You go around, solving fashion stuff.
Right. Well, okay, for example, the
Right.
recent fashion emergency you solved in Disneyland.
Right.
the results of which we're enjoying here today.
It
You
was.
showed up in Disneyland for Alan Cummings' 50th birthday party
Right.
and realized you did not have a
Actually,
bathing suit
purposefully.
from the 20s. I'm not really quite sure how this happened.
Well, I purposefully didn't pack one because I couldn't find my neon pink one, which is usually my
Your
go-to.
go-to suit, yeah.
But it was good. So I got to Disney World, and I knew I had only a short amount of time, and we went to downtown Disney, ad commercial here, and I found the most, I wanted the most ridiculous thing that I could find,
Yeah.
basically. I was like, that's just what I need.
Yeah,
And I found a onesie and cut off the legs and arms, and like
Right.
a 20s bathing suit.
right, with the hoodie.
And the rest, as they say,
Is history. Well, what I love about it is that, of course, the Lego Your Logo non-logo is a cutout circle with it's a red circle cutting out the hole. And it's all about sort of undermining the corporate paradigm, yet you're
get it?
dressed as I mean, whatever, it makes me very happy.
No, it's fun.
And it looks good. But I definitely, I definitely appreciate that sort of, but that kind of begs the question. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, are you worried about getting in, sort of trouble for any of this? Like, in other words, you're taking out the Izod and the Polo, but that's still very much a challenge to those companies. It's like, I'm using your clothes, but that kind, like, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what the nudity situation with, Facebook and YouTube might be, because of course we're all like, it's an art film. It's not, but it's still like a penis, right? So like, if you've had any interaction with the standards and practices people yet. And thirdly, like the Disney thing, for example, is famous for sort of messing with artists that take their content on. So I know this isn't like a new line or anything, but I'm just wondering like how you view your relationship to those kinds of like authorities.
Well, Minnie Mouse officially liked this on Instagram, so I think I'm okay on that front.
Minnie Mouse official with
Minnie
the little
Mouse
check.
Official Minnie, yeah. Minnie
Nice.
Mouse official, I like this. So
Well done.
We're homies.
All right, so that's cool. So
And
Disney's
as far as
all right.
like making other shirt, anybody can make a polo shirt. I mean, I call it like the bolo shirt.
The
but I mean,
bolo,
I mean,
right.
Beverly Hills Polo Club is like a multi-million-dollar business, and they just rip off Ralph Lauren polo.
Right,
So that's not really a concern.
because you're cutting the stuff out anyway.
Well, initially I wanted to just take their wares and cut that out, and I think that's going to be like the couture edition of this. But Tracy convinced me that we needed to do cut and sew,
Yeah.
so I was like, all right, fine. But we should. She was
Yeah.
right, but I think that's going to be like the couture thing. Is like we're actually taking shit and just
That
cutting,
was
just cutting
couture
the
sort of
logo out.
already, or a
And
brand
just, and
type.
just cutting the logo out.
Okay, so
and that's it.
TBD on the legal department there.
Uh-huh.
Now, vis-a-vis the nudity. Now, I know you're not only doing it to shock. I know you don't mind if people get shocked, but it truly is not about that. But how do you, is that something that you think about at all? Are you at all worried about that? Nudity is okay in art and fashion, but you're using these mainstream channels. Like, what's your plan?
Well, I realized, when I attended the 99th Street Elementary the other day, that I probably
yes.
couldn't.
Because he
you know,
also teaches children.
Yes,
about fashion.
Learn how to be themselves, kids. Stay in school. But yeah, I think that is relevant because it's
It
obviously
is.
not for everybody. So I guess we'll see what happens. Because of the nudity, it's probably like it's handicapped in many ways, I'm sure. But Bohemian Society has never really been a brand that is for everyone. This
Right.
is just like sort of playing with the idea, maybe
Right.
as far as more sales. But I think anyone who's going to buy something like that will understand it and probably be over 21.
And you already have a lot of interest in places like Europe and Asia where maybe like the standards are a little different. I mean, French television has naked people on it, so there's a little bit less of
Right.
a,
It's more
so
sophisticated.
there's probably, something.
Although Lego Your Logo babies, that'd be pretty.
Yeah.
I think maybe that we should do that.
I mean,
Not on camera,
to me,
of course.
I
but,
hear Lego Your Logo Baby, and I want to say
You know.
no, but like I've tried to talk you out of the naked talk show, and look how wrong I was.
I think baby
You know,
wear would
everybody
be
loves
good.
it. So, yeah, Lego Your Logo Baby. Lego Your Logo Baby. or something like that.
It's good.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, there's definitely something, I mean, you say that, and again, this is like what I love about you is that everything has this kind of double quality where, that's funny, ha ha ha. But it's also sort of like pretty freaking serious because we live in this society where from the time you're born, it's branding, right? It's Baby Gap. It's everything with the logo on it for real. And by the time, we live where parents are like registering people for the right preschool when they're not even born yet. And then everything is about what the name recognition and what the brand recognition and what the luxury, and by the time you're in third grade, you've got a whole school set with like Louis Vuitton pencil cases or whatever. I mean, it's a real thing. And that contributes to a kind of, rampant materialism that's not good, for your spirit or whatever. And it's a real thing.
That's part of the reason why I'm doing fashion. I'm in fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents bought me bootleg Air Jordans in the 4th grade, and kids made fun of me, and I threw them in the closet and never wore them again.
Right.
And now, I go around buying bootleg shit on purpose, or kind of doing that, of bootlegging in a way. Yeah,
yeah,
it is sort of.
Yeah,
That's kind of spirit. So that's kind of like, screw you.
Stay in school.
Speaking of,
yeah, no. I mean, it is. It's kind of amazing, and this is what I love. Speaking to you, it always it starts from like a crazy sort of punk like place, but it gets to a pretty solid place, eventually.
I do get kind of around
but it gets to like a meaningful, sort of public good kind of place, pretty quickly. So, okay, so what were a couple of your favorite moments that really surprised you from the interview series, from the Lego Your Logo interviews you've done so far? What was like your favorite couple of things?
Well, my favorite was people that I hadn't met yet, because I really wanted, like none of that was rehearsed, none of that, there was not scripted. I had like two questions basically that I want to ask.
Which were?
What do you think about fashion? How do you feel about fashion and the future, and like basically style versus fashion in a sense. But that always happens anyway. That's just part of the conversation because it's goes hand in hand, obviously. Just meeting people really for the first time, and I set out again for this to be like sort of pure, like off the cuff, and not knowing somebody and not knowing really what's going to happen or what you're going to say. It could fall flat. It could be amazing. You could, but you certainly learn something about someone sitting there talking to them without any clothes on.
Yeah, right. No, you definitely do. And of course, it is that thing too that happens where like you kind of forget about it within a second or two. I mean, you notice, but then it just, everyone's very comfortable, and so you're just talking. So you kind of get over it, and then you just wind up really listening, to the interview. So it is very sort of artistic and very kind of even keeled. I mean, you would think that it would be a lot wilder than it is. I mean, it's funny, and there's some wild people and some wild looking things and some wild stories. But the experience of watching it, kind of like this, is this very like old timey sort of like Dick Cavett, dinosaur, kind of thing that's very classical.
Yeah, we just need some cigarettes. But
well, yeah, definitely. Well, the good thing is you can put that. I mean, you'd probably get in more trouble, honestly, for showing people smoking than for showing their boobs. That's the world we live in right now. Or they'd be about even.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what I loved about it, for me personally, was that my favorite parts of it were exactly that fashion versus style conversation that you were alluding to. I mean, I would say there was a lot of agreement across the different people. But what would you say, like so far you've done about half a dozen of these that are all available online?
About a dozen.
About a dozen.
Yeah.
What would you say, is there one sort of main thing that a lot of people all said? I mean, there's a lot of stories, but like those answers, what is fashion, what is style, is there anything you can kind of like take away?
Most of the people, obviously, that they were comfortable enough to be in their own skin, that style begins with you. And that did become kind of a through line. It's that everybody there, I mean.
Because they're like fashion, if the kind of consensus was like fashion is something that is sort of like, you're told what the fashion is, and you either can or can't afford it, and you do your best. whereas style is something that's more of like a sense that an individual has of like sort of how they express themselves. I kind of felt like I heard that from a few different
Right.
people.
And your personal style, how that evolves into fashion, and what your role you play, I guess, in the fashion world around you, or the
Right.
world in general, I suppose.
Now, one of the most salient things I think was there were a couple of people who talked about gender,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this sort of idea of like when they were figuring out their sexuality, that clothing was a way to kind of try that on. Or
Right.
sort of, like Leon especially was inspirational, talked about, that was that was not the costume. That was like clothing made it possible to be the truth, even though it seemed like it was hiding, or there's a lot of those
Right.
kinds of really seriously sort of educational moments in it, and then there's a lot of funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of that's very inspiring. Yeah, that was great.
All right, so you're going to be doing more of those. People can look forward to that. More interviews, more different
idea.
kinds of people. And you'll keep posting them both on your website and on YouTube, just in case you get banned from YouTube.
Right. Well, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out as we
think
go.
so.
All right, well, I guess we're getting ready to wrap up. I want to make sure, though, you have a minute to, if there's anything you really want people to know about Lego Your Logo or Bohemian Society or you, Victor Wilde.
Wait, I'll be right back.
I knew he was going to do this. I knew he wasn't going to answer that last question. All right, he just needs a minute. He knows what I'm talking about. He needs a minute to think this over, I think.
They know. They all fucking know. You killed all those people. You killed them. What are you gonna do? Fuck. I don't know. Gotta end this interview.
Oh my God.
Kick my ass. All right. Fuck. Fucking, they deserved it anyway.
What should we do? So,
Wait.
Victor,
Is this thing still on?
you know your mic is hot, right?
What? What do you mean? Huh?
I think we're just going to leave it there. I think we should leave it there. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no problem.
Did you wash your hands?
Oh,